So I hate that I'm teasing everyone this year. Don't really have a lot as far as fruit for sale, but I'm able to harvest this Susquehanna today. It's almost sitting perfectly on that branch as it got bigger. But the best way to kind of keep it in the fridge longer is don't rip it off here. If you break this peduncle, it's not going to break the skin of the fruit, so it'll last longer on the counter or in the fridge. But this is going to be one of the biggest pawpaws of this season. I do have some Potomac also that are rather large. They're a little more round, but I'll weigh these up and see how big they are. Correction, that is also a Potomac. This is why I do have metal tags on the vast majority of my trees. So that one that was sitting here was actually Potomac, same as these ones. They are known for much larger fruit. Now, this tree is Wells. Something I've noticed about Wells, it does tend to have a single fruit instead of clusters, although it does produce clusters as well. But you can see they have a little bit of a yellow color break. That's how I know these ones are ready, and they are soft. Another thing I noticed about Wells, sometimes they're kind of like, I call it like a boat shaped, where it's got the peduncle up here or kind of at the top, and then it grows kind of sideways. But these are not always well received, but part of the issue is Wells scion at some point, people believe was mislabeled. So some of the trees that went out to people, or the scions I should say, might not have actually been Wells, but I believe this would be Wells that I have, because these fruit are very delicious. It was a winner of a contest back in like 1990, I think. I did a post on that before my cultivar reviews, but these ones are ready. I've got clusters and other trees. So I'm just going around the orchard and seeing what's ripe today. So another thing I do, I just go around with a Sharpie. I haven't experimented yet with other ways to do this. Maybe a sticker or a different type of felt tip pen. But you see there's that white bloom on the fruit. You can actually see part of my fingerprint. If you wipe that off, it becomes more green, and then it's easier to write on it. You don't have that, I think it's a yeast bloom or yeast that is settled on the fruit. It's common among other fruits, but in order to write on them, I just wipe them off real quick, and then the ink will actually take on the fruit. This is a Shenandoah. So this one's fairly green. It's still hard, but the one above it has a slight yellow color break. It is getting soft. It's hard to convey that on the video, but it's getting a little soft, but I think it's still a little too firm. So I'm gonna leave that either till later tonight or first thing in the morning. It's kind of a learned skill to tell which ones are perfect for picking or not. Now, typically people will say never pick them, but you can if they are getting soft. If they're not getting soft, they're never gonna ripen. So just make sure if you do come across pawpaws, in the wild, or if you're growing them yourself the first time, just make sure you give them a test before you take them from the tree. You want to make sure they are clearly getting soft before you remove them. Now, this one is Pennsylvania Golden. You can see it does have some yellow color breaks, so without even touching these, I already know that it's getting ripe. So again, when you have both of them or multiple ripe in one cluster, it is best to take it from the peduncle if you can. And that will preserve the integrity of the fruit and increase the shelf life. So anyone who's had a pawpaw orchard for a couple years that's producing will tell you even if you've checked the trees in the morning and you checked all the fruit, everything in reach, if it's soft or ripe, in these hot August or September days, you can still have clusters that fall. So either I missed this one or it fell since I last checked. This one, I think, is one of my few clusters of prolific from this year. Hopefully the bugs haven't gotten them. That looks like injury from the fall, not cracks. That one looks good. This one, I call it kind of a teardrop shape. They're usually smaller. Wynn Denson out in Pittsburgh, who has passed away a couple years ago, he said the teardrop shaped ones, he seemed to like those the best. He's noticed that for some reason those had maybe a sweeter taste or maybe a specific flavor profile. I haven't seen that myself, but I also haven't tried nearly as many pawpaw as him. Here's another kind of teardrop shaped one. Looks like a beetle found it, but no damage. So it looks like that cluster's still okay. So this is the Susquehanna I was thinking about earlier when I got that one confused, that Potomac. But unfortunately, I'm too late for one of these large fruits. It did have some splitting. You can see that woody area on the right side right there, that brownish along the skin. And then this big split right here, that's not from falling, that's from cracking from all the rain we've had. I'll save this for seed, but I wouldn't want to eat any of that fruit because it's been eaten by bugs. But luckily, that one fell from this cluster, and the rest of that cluster is getting soft, and they're nice and big. I do have some more. They're not ready yet. Some little ones. But these mosquitoes are just killing me today. Oh, God. That's another Susquehanna. A couple of them, like this one, is starting to get a little soft. I'm going to leave that on at least a few more hours. This one's nice and soft. I'll remove it. But here's another reason I don't really have as much fruit for sale this year. So I was going to do a video talking about how I'm doing cross-pollination. In the spring, before the flowers opened up, I bagged the flowers so that pollinators cannot get in there. Just occluding them so that I could get pollen from specific trees and then pollinate those flowers with that pollen that I wanted it pollinated with. And after that, I just bagged the flowers up again. Some of them were successful, and obviously I'm keeping that fruit so I can grow out those seeds. And then others, weren't successful, so there was never a cluster on this tree, but I went ahead and kept the bag on there just for kind of identification, so I could keep track of how many were successful and how many weren't.